Chapter 12. By Sally.LE. I was led out of that garden once again. We parted at the stone path, two separate directions. No final glance, no last word. I did not see his face again that night. They guided me through long, cold corridors that seemed endless. Magnificent, yes, but desolate. The towering walls were adorned with golden engravings, chandeliers hanging like frozen stars that gave no warmth. Everything was precise, immaculate, silent, a silence that did not resemble peace, but emptiness. Why had I begun to miss that dull, monotonous life? The one I once thought narrow, limited, sometimes even boring. A life entirely different from this heavy grandeur. Yes, that warmth. Simple, invisible, yet real. A warmth that does not exist in a place like this. No matter how brightly the candles burn, no matter how high the ceilings rise. Raymond, it must have been difficult for you to remain alone in a place like this. I thought of that as I followed the guards' footsteps, the sound of their armor echoing around me. They surrounded me from every direction, as though I were a war criminal, or a traitor being dragged to an execution ground. I was not a prisoner, so I was told. A dear guest. But guests are not escorted by swords, nor are their steps measured so carefully, as if escape were expected. I felt the weight of their stares on my back, and the weight of the palace itself pressing against my chest. Here, no one walks freely. Not even the king himself. He sits on the balcony of his private chamber, his features rigid as he looks down at the garden that had brought them together only a short while ago. The night is still, but nothing inside him is. Emma. He speaks her name slowly, as if it were a forbidden word that might burn his lips if it lingered too long. The sound settles deeper in his chest than it does in the air. Her words return to his mind quickly, scattered, overlapping, unsettling the composure he forces upon himself. He closes his eyes for a moment, but instead of escaping the memory, he falls into it. Memories from his own perspective this time. Rush back with painful clarity. He is lying beneath a large tree, resting in its shade after an exhausting day in the fields. His body is tired, his shirt clinging to his skin from sweat, his breathing heavy, yet satisfied. The air is warm, carrying the scent of soil and sun, brushing against his face like a gentle hand easing the day's labor. His eyes are closed, not asleep, just surrendering for a moment to fatigue. Then, a shadow blocks the sunlight from his face. He doesn't move at first. A faint smile curves his lips before he even opens his eyes, as if he already knows. And when he finally opens them slowly, her smiling face is there above him. That smile untouched by pretense, by caution, by distance. She leans slightly toward him, a few strands of hair slipping loose near her ear, her eyes bright with a simple liveliness no palace could ever possess. Are you sleeping, Ray? She doesn't call him Your Majesty. He isn't a king there. He is only Ray. Then she adds lightly, lifting a small basket in her hand. Shall we share lunch? That voice, that closeness, that effortless access to him. In the present, his hand tightens around the balcony's edge. Back then, there was nothing between them. Now, everything stands in the way. A knock sounded at the door. Steady, measured, as if the one behind it knew exactly his limits. The sound paused, waiting for permission, as if the man beyond the wood understood he was standing before an unseen storm. Raymond did not turn immediately. He remained standing, staring at the garden, but his voice finally emerged, low and harsh, carrying layers of burdens he could not confess, nor allow anyone to witness. Enter. The door opened slowly, without a creak, and a knight stepped forward, clad in gleaming silver armor, polished meticulously, reflecting discipline before pride. His steps were steady, measured, unfazed by fear, untouched by hesitation. He was familiar, familiar beyond what he should be. He stopped at a proper distance, bowed with military precision, then raised his head steadily. Bernard, his right arm across his chest, his eyes watching the king not with curiosity, but with an old loyalty that knew when to be silent and when to speak. Their gazes met for a fleeting moment, a silent instant carrying the history of shared battles, and secrets never written in the palace records. Bernard was not merely a knight. He looked at him calmly, sitting on the ground. The king's voice was low and steady, each word sharp as a knife. "What is the punishment for a traitor?" he asked quietly, though he already knew the answer before it was spoken. He exchanged a gaze with Bernard, calm for calm, a silence heavier than any threat. "Execution, Your Majesty," Bernard answered firmly, without a tremor, without hesitation. Raymond stepped closer, deliberately slow, his hand resting on the scabbard of his sword. The sharp blade gleamed, carrying the weight of the king and his authority between edge and hand. He raised the sword slowly, placing its edge against Bernard's neck, a light scratch enough to strike fear into any ordinary man. But Bernard did not flinch, did not move. Raymond remained still, commanding every moment, every breath, every movement, every touch of the sword's edge. His obsession simmered beneath the surface, a mix of anger, jealousy, and control, as if his mind sought to extract the truth from the man before him. "If you know the punishment," he continued in a sharper tone, a whisper loaded with threat, "then why did you betray me?" The last words fell like lightning across the room, the sword still pressing against skin, threatening, asserting dominance. Yet Bernard stayed unmoved, unyielding. His eyebrows moved slightly, not from fear, but from pure, fleeting surprise, like a spark he had not managed to conceal in time. "Betrayal." The word appeared on his features before it ever reached his voice. Him? A traitor. It was not the scratch at his neck that unsettled him, nor the blade pressed against his skin, but the meaning. He had never even considered it. The thought had never crossed his mind, not as a possibility, not even as a passing notion. His eyes remained fixed on Raymond, yet something in them shifted. Not weakness, but the attempt to understand. What did he mean? What betrayal was he speaking of? Betrayal of the throne? Of orders? Or of something else that had not yet been named? His jaw tightened slightly, as if words were crowding within him, not to defend himself, but to search for the accusation he had never known he had committed. "Since you honored me with the title, my lord, I have had no master but you, not even in my imagination." He paused for a moment, his breathing steady, despite the blade at his neck. "Betrayal has never been among my traits." His voice was not raised, nor was it pleading, but sincere in a way that was almost painful. His eyes did not lower. They did not search for mercy, nor for escape. There was something else in his tone, an old loyalty, deeply rooted, deeper than a military oath, heavier than words spoken on a training ground. "If I have erred," he continued calmly, "then it was an error of understanding, not of intention. But my heart has known no master but you." The candle flame near them flickered, as if even the air itself hesitated between accusation and truth. The air was tense, pulled tight by an invisible thread, charged with something poisonous, unclear, as if even words feared being spoken. And for a moment that stretched longer than it should have, his laughter broke out. A familiar, deep laugh, filling the corners of the room all at once. It shattered the silence, yet did not truly break it, only made it more unsettling. He slowly withdrew the sword from Bernard's neck, a thin line of blood tracing the shining edge. He took a white cloth and carefully wiped the blade clean, a calm, precise movement, as if what had just happened were nothing more than a passing test. "I know," he said, still looking at the sword, running the cloth along its gleam. "I know everything, Bernard. At last, he lifted his eyes to him, a gaze that left no room for doubt. If I had suspected, even for a moment suspected betrayal from you. He paused, his voice lowering, turning colder. Your head would be hanging in the square, like the rest of them. It was not a threat, not a display of power. It was a fact. Then he slowly turned his back, returning the sword to its sheath with a short metallic sound, as if judgment had been delivered and concluded. Yet something in his eyes. I have a task for you. Specifically for you, Bernard. He did not turn at first. His voice carried through the room with deliberate calm, the kind that followed storms. There is someone I want you to protect. The words hung in the air, heavier than the blade had been moments before. He finally faced him, expression unreadable, but his eyes sharp, calculating, studied Bernard closely. Not as a soldier guards a gate, not as a knight follows orders. He stepped closer again, slower now, measured. You will stay near. You will watch. You will ensure that no shadow dares approach. A pause. This person must not be touched, must not be frightened, must not even suspect the danger that breathes around them. His jaw tightened slightly. You will answer to no one in this matter but me. No questions, no hesitation. His gaze darkened, something possessive flickering beneath the authority. Guard them with your life if you must. A brief silence. And if anything happens, his voice dropped, dangerously quiet. I will not ask who failed. I will